Hello and welcome to the Health Oddity Podcast, episode 181. And if you listened to last week, you may remember that I sounded very, very nasally. And today I sound less nasally, even though we only recorded last week's yesterday. So I am feeling much, much better today. And it's good because we have a really, really special guest with us today. It is Burns Night in Scotland and in the UK, mainly in Scotland. Yeah, okay. And we have a very special guest who is up in Scotland today. But we will first meet our regular host and check in with Mr. Peter Lant. How are you doing, Pete? You're right.
Yeah, I'm not feeling as cool as you two though, because I haven't got my pit vipers on. So I have got one of these though. I've got a buff.
Okay.
One of them things you put around your neck, and apparently you can wear it in various different ways. So there we go.
There
That's
you go.
being cool. There you go. So I'm cool now. I don't feel silly at all.
Okay.
No,
So there we
you
go. So
kind
this
of
is
look
yeah.
like a character from a Charles Dickens novel now.
Wiggly winky.
Ebenezer,
I might
yeah,
get
you
myself
look
one
like,
of them candles.
Ebenezer Scrooge, yeah, in a kind of yes, a nightcap, I think would be called. But are you okay, mate? You doing all right?
I'm fine, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I spoke to you yesterday, didn't I? So you know what's going on.
Oh dear. Yes, we are joined today. You can see, well, if you're watching, you can see he has got a background of all his kind of sponsors and things behind him. We are joined by Mac McLaren, who is on social media, otherwise known as Tartan Warrior. And Mac is a British Army veteran. He's a 3 times world's strongest disabled man, and he is wearing his Pit Viper sunglasses, and who are one of his sponsors, and I'm wearing mine as well. So I thought I'd try and look nearly as cool as him. But yeah, we first met Mac back in August 2023, where he was kind of refereeing at the Britain's Disabled Strongest Man and Strongest Woman in Chard in Somerset, which is where we first met Magnus for Magnuson, and we've met loads of fantastic people there. And Mac at that event, he just stands out when you meet Mac, and you'll know from today, from when you hear him talking, and if you ever see him, I'll be sharing some images and some videos and things like that. But he's quite a character, so we wanted to get Mac on to the podcast, find out a bit about him and his life and his career in strongman and how he got started and what he's working towards and all these kind of things. And like always on this podcast, we meet someone, we get them on, we get talking. We never quite know where it's going to go, but we always have a good time, and we always find out lots of stuff that we didn't know beforehand. So I'm actually now going to remove my Pit Viper sunglasses because I'm indoors and I feel like I'm a bit like Bono, you know. I'm kind of indoors with my sunnies on, and it's very dark, so I'm taking them off.
Can I just say, James,
Yeah.
you're nothing like Bono.
Oh, no.
And I mean that as a compliment.
Okay. And we will start today, or I will start before I kind of introduce Mac and hand over to him a little bit. I'm going to say Slanjuvar.
Slanjuvar.
Slanjuvar. Okay. Which I think is sort of Celtic or Scottish for good health. Cheers. Yeah, for Burns Night. Excellent. And thank you to Edith earlier who gave me that, and we had a bit of a chat earlier today. So Mac, yeah, welcome to the podcast. It's great having you on here. It's great having you on here. So I suppose, first of all, really, we will explain for our American listeners, you do have a Scottish accent. We've had a few Irish people on here. I don't think we actually had any. Have we had any real Scots on here before, Pete?
Not that I know of, but they can understand me. So
yeah.
Okay. Well,
so Mac, yeah. Obviously, it's great speaking to you, but where do you want to start? You know, I mean, you've had quite an amazing life, and what you do now is amazing as well. But how's life been for you? You know, where did your life in terms of bringing you up to now, career wise, and then kind of getting into strength? I mean, where do you want to start with it all?
God, yeah, I don't think we've got enough time, but yeah. Well, I mean, I did 7 years in the British Army. Unfortunately, I was injured a couple of times, which resulted in a medical discharge in 2005. And pretty much, I was very much just almost nomadic, just roaming around, couldn't settle, I just couldn't do it. Anything, tried several jobs and wasn't getting anywhere. And it was sort of a few years after that, I decided just to, I had my pension from the army, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to take time out from sort of the world and just disappear into the background. And I met a few friends who are now like my best friends at Download Festival, and we just got talking, and one thing led to another, and before I knew it, I was talked into moving down to London, and it was like, oh, okay, wait, I can't afford this, but thankfully, I found stall housing in Fulham. So I was housed there for a few years. Then I met my partner. God's honest truth, I don't know why she's still with me. But, I can't put up with me, so I don't know how she does. But yeah, so I mean, we now live together down in a nice little bungalow in Kent, down in a bit called Wigmore in Gillingham. So yeah, I'm down here, and while I was staying in Fulham, I had long hair, quite long. It was about halfway down, sort of thing. It was. I think when it was cut off, the ponytail was recorded at 17 inches, and so I agreed to shave it off for charity. And the one thing that stall housing was really lacking at the place was a functional gym. Any squaddies will tell you one of the best therapies they can have is just getting lost in the gym, be that on the running machine or some weights, whatever. It's just you lose yourself a bit, and it for me anyway, it used to quieten down the noise up here. So I set about basically creating the Endeavour Fitness Suite at stall housing. Got funding from shaving my hair off from the Endeavour Fund, and donated the hair to the Little Prince's Trust, which create wigs for kids with cancer for free. So they were very happy because they got a shitload of hair.
Can I just ask, Mac, you've mentioned a couple of times stall housing, just so, because I've not heard that before. Is that what is that?
So it's basically a veterans housing association with and based in Fulham at the moment, and they basically offer supported housing, so it gives you a chance to live independently, but also at the same time having support there for whatever the needs may be, maybe mental health, drug issues, and all disabilities. They're in the process of going through a redevelopment phase at the moment, so there's a lot going on there. But yeah, it was through them that I live down here now, sort of thing. And it was just through that. It was that really kind of kick-started. Let's call it my fitness bug. We built the gym, like I say, we had a spare. There was a gym there, but it was not functional. There was nothing in it really. So we kitted it out with everything it needed, every aspect: power rack, dumbbells, bars, weights, hand bike for those that didn't have lower limb function. There was a rower. There was a standard bike. There was also a treadmill. So there was everything the guys would need, and it was agreed that the gym was going to be 24/7 and full access to the veterans whenever they wanted it. Some of the guys would be using it at 3 o'clock in the morning. So it was fantastic to have that there for them. Almost like when I moved out, it was like a legacy for me. That was my little stamp on stall, that we created a gym. And that's kind of how I got into starting doing fitness. And from then, it kind of led into applying for the Invictus Games. And yeah, it was just suddenly there was a bug there that hadn't been there for a long, long time. You know, I used to be super fit in the army, and it was effectively taken away from me by my injury to my legs, and I fell into a pit of despair. You know, not great places to go. I've been to the edge of the abyss and pulled myself back from it, sort of thing. I can proudly say I'm a suicidal survivor. So I've had a few demons over the years, and the fitness really kind of it gave me focus again. I also have Asperger's, which I discovered later in life, which again, focus just it gave me. Once I get my teeth into something, I just stick with it until I get to the end, basically. But when I moved out, we moved, and I was trying to find a gym that I could go to that was not a poser gym, but just a proper old school gym. And I found Bulk's gym in Gravesend, and they just welcomed me in with open arms. And I started training there, and I kind of got into the strongman just by pure chance, you know. It was very much just I saw a poster on the wall offering strongman Sunday training, and I was like, yeah, I've seen it on the TV. I wouldn't mind giving that a go. And I literally asked the guy, Jay at the time, he didn't know how to take me when me being me, I was just like, oh, do you take gimps? And he was just like, what? Like, oh, disabled people. He's like, oh my God, you can't say that. I'm like, yeah, I can. I've even got a gimp card, you know. So yeah. And it just character straight away, and it just clicked, you know, and I thought, yeah, this is the place to be. And that's how I got into strongman, you know.
So, Mac, just to ask then, so presumably when you were young, when you went into the military, like you say, you were very fit, you know, super fit and trained a lot and went through that. And then what was because obviously a lot of people just listen to this podcast, you know, maybe driving or whatever, walking. What injury did you sustain when you mentioned your legs, but what injury did you sustain when you came out of the military?
So I basically I effectively tore right through my meniscus by turning. So basically I went to turn, and my lower leg stayed still, and my upper leg rotated 30 degrees and just ripped through the middle of the leg, basically. And it never recovered. You know, it was 18 months therapy, just trying to get it to go again, and it never even straightened. So it was always out of position, effectively. Yeah. And so I was discharged in 2005, and just over the years it got progressively worse because my leg basically was not straight. So it was causing all sorts of problems. As I got older, it started really affecting my hips, causing me hip and groin pain, and it got worse and worse to the point where I was struggling to walk, basically. So after years of fighting, probably about 15 years of just begging them to cut my leg off to just stop the pain, because it was a constant pain. There was just constant pain. It affected everything, sleep, whatever, you know. And so yeah, finally I got the go ahead to get rid of the dead wood, basically, because that's how I saw my leg was dead wood.
So what happened after that? As in, because obviously you've had this thing for 15 years, and then you said it was so it was a year ago, wasn't it? Pretty much, just
almost a year,
yeah. So what was the difference? Was it like an instant relief?
Pretty much, it was like somebody flicked a switch.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the first week I was in hospital, I was like loaded with drugs left, right, and centre, which, you know, has its benefits. But it was notable, like almost straight away when I got home. Obviously, there was the initial pain from the surgery itself, but once that cleared up, yeah, I mean, I'm pain free now for the first time in 20 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's made a huge difference, and I mean, I now sleep. I never used to sleep properly, about 2-3 hours a night. Now I'm getting, as my body's getting used to sleeping now, I get sort of 4 to 6 hours. So it's, to me, it's changed my life.
Yeah. And where did you have the amputation? Is it just above the knee? Is it?
I'm actually through knee.
Through knee. Okay.
So it's only suitable for between 1% and 2% of people.
That's what Louise Gray said she had that, didn't she?
Yeah, through the knee. Yeah.
So yeah, it's got to be a suitable person. You know, they need to be mobile and all the rest of it. So because I'd been doing fitness and strongman and all the rest of it, it was deemed as, yeah, this is the way forward. Because if they had because the lower limb was the problem, so below knee just wasn't an option.
Yeah. And so what? So before you had the amputation, but you were still, so you were getting into strongman at this gym, like you said, you just saw this come along and try kind of on a Sunday kind of thing.
Yeah.
What was your? And you said you were kind of registered disabled then, because you've been discharged from the military and that sort of thing. But what did life and training look like for you? You know, from when you started training up, you know, prior to the amputation. I mean, how was your ability then to be able to do the different events and things like that? I mean, with this constant pain through the leg and the leg that didn't really work properly, and like you described it as dead wood almost, you know. So what was life like then, training and competing?
Well, it took a bit of getting used to, because obviously any fitness training that I'd done in the past was obviously all body, you know, legs, everything. Now it was a case of, right, I need to learn to do this seated, because I just couldn't stand with weight going through my legs. It was too much pain. So I learned to do seated lifts. So it was a bit of everything, you know, as you see in the TV at Christmas with strongman, with disabled strongman, it's pretty much the same sort of style, but it's adapted to the people's disabilities. So for me, it was completely alien. It was like, oh well, this is weird. But once got used to it, I really just started enjoying it. It just, let's say, it kick-started something in me. I was like, right, you know, I'm enjoying this. This is really good. You know, log pressing was always one of my favourite things to watch on TV. You know, you seen it back in the days, Magnus and that lifting trees basically. And I was just always thought, yeah, I want to be able to do that, but can it be done seated? So a wee bit of research, and found Britain's Disabled Strongman. Got in touch with Gary Clark, who runs Britain's Disabled Strongman. Got in touch with him and basically said, right, okay, I'm kind of new to this. How do I get involved? And it was very much a case of, right, send in paperwork to sort of verify what the disability was so they could categorise you. And then it was along the lines of, well, you need to send in a qualifying video. So go do these kind of lifts and send us the video. And it's like, oh, okay. And it just snowballed, absolutely snowballed from there. And it just, I think it's snowballed ever since.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that you mentioned having some incredibly dark times and coming through those incredibly dark times. Now that you're now that you're competing in strongman, I mean, you go all over the world. We mentioned before we came on air that you were out in Iceland in November, December for the Magnus Classic, just on a holiday out there. But even then, you got roped into doing some stuff that I saw online. Has this kind of, like you said, has this kind of changed your life? You know, getting involved in this kind of world, is it totally turned things around for you?
It's strongman as a whole is like a big family. It's just this huge strength community, and the disabled strongman is up and coming, and it's getting there. It's getting more recognition, and disabled strongman itself is a huge little community ourselves, because we fight for each other. Even when you're competing against each other, you know, you'll still stand there cheering the other guy on, or even the lassies. You know, it doesn't matter who's doing the lift. We're all standing there shouting and screaming at each other. And I think it epitomises what strongman as a whole is just all about. And I mean, even like you touched on going out to Iceland and just taking part in that. Just like I say, I was standing watching the events, and the Tenerife strongman's like, oh yeah, they had finished for that event, so they were like, well, I'm sitting there, you know. And he said to me, oh, you should have a go. I was like, I'm like, it's -5. I've not warmed up, and you know, no. And he's like, oh, go on. And he kind of went, oh, come on, you know, you're 3 times world's strongest man, and blah, blah. And I was like, oh, love of God. I was like, right, okay. And Magnus was standing with Radzi, and he's watching, and I kind of looked over at him, and he kind of gave me a nod. And I was like, okay, let's do this, you know. So I'm like, right, somebody get me some chalk. And I was like, right, chalk, right, let's go. And I kind of looked at it and went, well, do you know what? If I get this thing off the ground, I'll be happy. And I got it off the ground, and I managed to keep it moving. It was a dead weight the whole time, because there was no lock as the wrecking ball went up. There was no lock to hold it in place, so you had to hold the rope the whole time and then pull. And these big guys made it look so easy. And I was just there.
I don't know if you did, Pete. Did you see it at all, Pete? The one
I'll be watching it. Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll find the video and we'll share it, because I saw it. I was watching the feed, and like you say, Magnus was there with Razzie, who does all the stuff on TV for Giants Live and everything, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And they were commentating while you were doing it, and just for the viewers, it was sort of like I suppose it was a crane with a wrecking ball hanging, you know, and then you had to do like an arm-in-arm pull to raise this wrecking ball up. And it was just incredible that you were just there doing it, and they were commentating for you, and Magnus was kind of bigging you up and commentating, and yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was good, because, like I say, the community aspect was there. I mean, I was doing it, and all these huge names. Do you know what I mean? Some big names in strongman world: Shane Flowers, Pa Dwyer, Rongo the Warrior. You know, they're all standing there. Tenerife Viking. They're all standing there and they're shouting and they're cheering me on. And I think that definitely helped with the lift.
It's funny, because when you're talking about like the community aspect of it, when we came to Chard and we were sitting having breakfast and stuff like that. I mean, me and James have obviously never been involved in this ever before. Been to a few events to watch and stuff like that. But Gary, after we had him on here, because I know Gary because I just randomly sent him a friend request on Facebook, and then we got chatting, and then he came to visit me. And he came down to Bath. We had a coffee, and that was it.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh, do you want to be on?" And then we had him on here, and then he was like, "Do you want to be on the lifting crew?" So we're like, "Okay, brilliant." But when we got there, it was amazing, because it was just all you guys were there, and everybody was like straight away walked in, hugging each other, like, "Hello, I haven't seen you." You're all obviously like. It almost seems like you all live in the same house together or something like that, you know, and you just move around places. But then we had Mark Tonner on as well about the his deadlift.
Yes.
24-hour deadlift. And he was saying like Erin got involved and Louise and
Dowie
got involved with
Matt Diamond.
Matt Diamond.
Yeah.
I was just sitting there when we came back from that event. in August, I was chatting to my missus. We went down the pub and had a couple of beers and stuff, and she was like, "You need to get involved more in this because you like." Honestly, it was like it changed my life just spending time with you guys for that one weekend. I was like, "This is amazing," and she was like, "You need to do more of this because it makes you like it makes you like this. You're a joy to be around. Not that I'm not all the time, obviously, but."
There you go. No, and you're off to the Britons, aren't you? Tomorrow, Saturday.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Saturday. Yeah, I'm
Britain's
off to
strongest man in Sheffield. Yeah,
Lucky you, lucky you.
yeah. God, so this when you became, you're 3 times world's strongest disabled man. Where did those events happen? I think some of it's in America. Have they all been in America or?
No, so the first one I took part in was 2021, and that was in Iceland. Small village, Keflavik, which is about 40-minute drive roughly from Reykjavik. So that was my first kind of involvement with it at that kind of level. So it was good. It was literally proper old school style. It was in a warehouse, and it was just random bits of kit, and it was just amazing. Magnus and Arna, the founders, were sorting out all the kit, and it was just again just being part of it. I was so happy. 2022 was in Canada, and that was Magnus and Tony that was running that.
Oh, is it Tony Vanderbar? Is that? Yeah. Cool.
Who's been really like I met him in Iceland in 21, and we were just got talking about it, and he was saying he was hosting it and that it was going to be bigger, and it was amazing. And again, what he did in 21 was he ran it alongside the Canadian strongman comp, but we were up first, so the able-bodied athletes followed on from us, and it was quite good because we had events like the truck pull, for instance, which was this big, huge SUV. I think it was 3.5 tons on gravel, worst bloody surface ever. Because normally with an arm over arm sort of truck pull, you get the vehicle moving and it starts to roll. But when it's on gravel, it's a dead start each and every time. And what was good about that was that some of the disabled athletes were finishing the pull where the able-bodied athletes were unable to. So it really kind of sort of put us out there. People were like, how are you guys doing this, And it's just like sheer will, determination. We don't look at things and go, oh, we can't do that. We look at it and go, right, how do we do that? And then 2023 was in Florida. That was in conjunction with the World Strength Games. So Magnus was hosting it as a slightly name change as it's went through its evolution. It's now the Magnus for Magnuson World Strength Championships. So now you have a strong man and strong woman in each category, sort of thing, and it's really starting to pick up. We are slowly but surely picking up more sponsors to bring on the sport.
And do you find that having the disabled events kind of running alongside the kind of the able-bodied events, you've got probably a lot more spectators, a lot more eyes on you, more media, more buzz, haven't you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's all going. Yeah, it sounds fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good because, like you say, it gives us a chance to show people that might not even know it's a thing that we're here, we can do this, and put us on not on display, but to show people our ability of what we can do and what we can achieve. And it's good when you run it with the able-bodied because, like I say, you get crowds and stuff. But there's also people in the crowd who might be disabled that think, oh, wait a minute, I'd love to try this. And we've done that at some of the events.
Yeah. No, it's.
Do you know what? Sorry, what's just crossed my mind? Because I was thinking about this, and when we were there in Chard, and when you look at this, it's like usually like ex-veterans or something, or people who've got into it. I say later in life. I mean, Louise is like what, like she's 23 or something like that, isn't she? But she's only been doing it for like a year or so. When she started competing. But if kids are listening who are like born disabled or disabled from a very early age, imagine how strong they could be in 35, 40, 45 years old competing in this stuff. And you're saying they're beating it, they're doing things that able-bodied athletes can't do. Imagine, like, you know, rather than getting into it in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s or whatever, getting into it in your teens, it's like, God, man, imagine what it's going to be like in 20 years.
Yeah, because I mean, like you say, some of the lifts that the guys do, and the girls, God, some of the girls is just incredible. I mean, there's been records broke left, right, and centre recently. You know, we in particular, the biggest numbers come in the seated deadlift, which is obviously a variation of the standard deadlift. But in a lot of ways, it is a harder lift because there is absolutely no leg drive. It is all upper back. And you are pulling that weight off the ground. Rachel Canham recently absolutely obliterated the women's seated deadlift record. I can't remember exactly the number, but it was like 420 kilos she lifted. It was unbelievable. The trendsetter really was Martin Ty a few years ago. He did the Guinness World Record. I think it was 505 kilos for the Guinness record, and that was beyond.
That was at the that was it, like a Somerset show.
Yeah.
And Gary was there. I didn't know who either of them were. There was a guy who owns the gym. I forget his name. Matt. Is it Matt? Anyway, he told us about it and said he was running this competition because I'd spoken to him once. So I went along with Charlotte again with me missus. We went along. We went, oh, there's a strongman competition on. Let's go and see it. And that was when he pulled 505, I think. Yeah, like you say. And I was like, that was amazing.
And I think it was Eddie Hall that was reffing him.
It was Loz. It was Big Loz.
Was it Loz that time? Right.
Yeah.
And I know Eddie had reffed one of these lifts. I think. I can't remember which one it was, but he's reffed one of Ty's things. I mean, the world record now for the seated deadlift, it's getting silly now. Dave Walsh, Sitting Bull on Instagram, Sitting Bull UK, 646 kilos.
I think when we spoke to Gary the last time, it was 600
660 or something. Yeah,
it might have been 5. Yeah, something like that. And we were like, that is ridiculous. Now it just keeps going up.
It keeps going up, and it's getting to the point where you're now looking at it going, is the kit going to be strong enough? Not the person. Do you know what I mean?
I suppose it's the seat you sit on, isn't it? You know, there's got to take you, and then if you're lifting 600 kilos as well, you know, those little, and it's Gary makes those little seats, doesn't he?
Yes. He makes them, and I mean, they're absolutely solid, you know, and it just shows you the weight that they can hold through that steel, you know. But yeah, the lifts some of them are doing are absolutely incredible, you know, and it just, to me, it epitomizes what disabled strongman is all about. It's not about the disability; it's about the ability, you know.
Because I know that when we were there, sorry, Pete, I know when we were there, we were obviously watching and seeing all the weights that everyone was lifting. And then just recently, I've been doing a little bit at my gym with some of the guys who are just starting to compete at kind of local shows and things like that.
Yeah.
And you really, and it's like all these things, isn't it? It's like people who watch, you know, the strongman at Christmas on TV, who don't do any training, have no real reference point. They just look and they think, well, they're big guys. That must be heavy.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's very good, you know. But when you actually go into a gym and try to deadlift yourself or press something overhead or do like a loaded carry or a sled drag or something like that. I mean, that one that you guys were doing in Chard, where you were sat down, kind of anchored behind a yoke, doing like a hand over hand.
The sled pull.
Yeah, sled pull on like a prowler type thing. You know, there were hundreds of kilos on there, you know, and So these things, these events, they're not just. It's when we've had Donna Moore on and Rebecca Roberts as well. It's not like some people would say, "Oh yeah, they're strong for women," or "Oh, that's strong for a disabled person." These are serious. Any person who is not seriously strong is not going to be able to get anywhere near what you
Yeah,
guys are doing. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And I think that's what it's we have to emphasize that. This isn't disabled strongman that's kind of, you know, anyone else who's not a seriously well-trained strength athlete would not have any chance of lifting any of the weights that you guys are doing. So
yeah.
it's a real incredible feats of strength all the time, isn't it?
Oh, it's and you know what? As well as that, it is so much fun to be part of strongman. I mean, we've when we go to the bigger events, the likes of Arnold's, for instance, a lot of the pros come over, and they just stand in awe and think, how are you guys doing this? It's. I mean, there's a few times where we've said, oh, come on, have a go, and they're like, hell no.
Oh dear. So I mean, kind of what's next for you? I mean, you mentioned, and I mentioned at the start, if people aren't watching, they're listening probably. Behind you, you've got a list of kind of, or a screen up with different sponsors and things that you have.
Yeah,
Tough Wraps, Pit Viper, Hemp, which is what's True? Oh, True Cryo. That's cryo treatment, cryotherapy stuff.
yeah, great stuff.
Yeah, so in fact, it's funny with that hemp stuff. I got some of that when we were at the Strongman, and I lent someone some the other day, and they said it was amazing. It's
Yeah.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's next for you? I mean, what are you training for? Well, first of all, can you just tell us about this? I think we were talking about it before we started recording. When we first met you in August,
Yeah.
and I said, rightly or wrongly as it turns out, I just thought you'd had your amputation done years ago and had a prosthetic leg for years because you just look so comfortable on it. And I just assumed, well, the whole time you've been competing as a strongman, you've had this amputation, you've got a prosthetic, but that was only, like you say, last year.
Yeah.
And you adapted really, really quickly to having that done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned, I think it was before we started recording, that it's meant to take weeks or months, and you were just up and moving around after 10 days or something.
Yeah. So I had the amputation done in February, and then basically it was like, right, got home after a week, and it was like, right, it was frustrating to start with because I wasn't allowed to do anything. I had to rest, make sure I wasn't busting my stitches, and it was just so that sort of first wee while of it was just so frustrating because I had been so active up to that point. I got my leg in May, and it was very much. I went to see the surgeon in Salisbury, and he was just like, "Wow, you're walking, no walking stick." He's like, "How's the pain?" I'm like, "Non-existent." 20 years of pain gone like that within a few weeks of once the scars healed. It's still in the healing process as such because they said it takes about 18 months roughly. But I'd healed super quick. I hadn't intended in competing at all last year because I pretty much kind of ruled myself out because of the operation. But as it transpired in May, the surgeon's like, "Yeah, I'm happy. The stump's looking great. There's no issues there. You can now train heavy." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And the plan was originally with the surgeon was to try and be fit and strong for Worlds in September. But as it happened, he gave me the go-ahead in May. So I had previously qualified for Static Monsters World Championships. So I literally contacted the guy and said, "Well, I've already paid my money. I wasn't expecting to compete, but I've just been given the go-ahead." And he's like, "Yeah, do it. Let's make it happen." And yeah, so it was really good. I placed third overall in my category. Suffered a little bit of an injury to my shoulder during the log press, 100-kilo log press, which then had a knock-on effect with my deadlift. My shoulder was gone. It was like, uh-oh. And the worry sort of sunk in there. It was like, maybe I shouldn't have done this because I might miss Worlds now. I gave it a bit of rest. So I took sort of 4 weeks off, some light training in between just to see how it was going. Seemed to be okay. Absolutely covered my shoulder in hemp. And just went for it at Worlds. My partner Claire, she just kept me going after every event. She'd come over and just cover me in hemp.
I've got this image. I've just got this image of you just like, they're just covered in cream.
No, not quite like that.
And did you win that one last September?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you won. Yeah.
So you won 3 in a row, right?
Yeah. So I'm quite happy with that. But moving forward,
yeah. What's next? What's this year? What's 2024?
Well, 2024. It was going to be number 4, and I say it was because things do change in life. I'm taking a year out of strongman. Because I want to focus my training for the Invictus Games. Wheelchair rugby is my other absolute passion. I love it because you get in a wheelchair that just basically looks like a tank.
Isn't that the one they call like Murderball or something, don't they? Is that what they call wheelchair rugby? Yeah, because it's just pure carnage, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that's why I like it. Because I just go quite literally sometimes head first. I just go careering. I build up speed, get out and just go careering into somebody at full pelt. And I don't care if I go flying over or not, As long as I stop them, that's the main thing. But yeah, Murderball or wheelchair rugby is my other passion. I play for Saracens wheelchair rugby in Hatfield. And I got into that through Help for Heroes and Royal British Legion. Royal British Legion have now taken over the running of the UK selection for Invictus Games, which will be in Canada 2025 in February. So I'm in the process now of going through the selection phase. So I took the thought process was I didn't want to risk getting an injury that would affect my chances at selection. Yeah, because I've tried a few times for Invictus, and I've always failed at that final hurdle. So this time I'm just right. I want to concentrate on that.
And has it always, when you've tried to go for it before, has it always been in the wheelchair rugby that you've always?
Yeah, well, there is multiple sports you can take part in. So the last couple of times I've tried for wheelchair rugby, sitting volleyball, powerlifting. So there is different sports available. So this time I've kind of put myself down for wheelchair rugby, wheelchair basketball, and rowing. Good power in the back. So I thought, I'll give it a go. See how it goes. So let's say between now and May, I'll be doing selection, and fingers crossed, this will be my year.
Yeah. And the rowing, is that like indoor rowing, or is that? Yeah. Because I've seen you. I at the end, obviously, we'll get your Instagram handle and that, so people can follow you. But I obviously see a lot of your training that you put up on Instagram, and I've seen recently you're doing some of the rowing and things, indoor rowing. Yeah.
As you know, cardio is not in a strongman's remit.
It's funny because when you talk about this, I think is it Darren who was a canoe in the in the Paralympics?
Yeah, Darren Greenfield, is it?
Yeah. Because when he was saying, "Oh yeah, I was in the Paralympics," and we were like, "All right, what were you lifting?" He goes, "No, canoeing," and it was like, "What? Where did that come from?"
Yeah.
Wouldn't even think you'd fit in a canoe.
Yeah, he was smaller then.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
I've got a question about your leg. Where did you get it from? Because honestly, it's the best leg. It's got like all the metal stuff all over it, hasn't it? Like, because you're obviously into that. If you talked about Download Festival and all that sort of caper, and from your hair in the picture that you showed us.
yeah. So I'm in the process of growing it again.
Ah, nice.
I got bored of the mohawk, so I thought let's change it up a bit till I get fed up with it again. But yeah, my leg, the cover I've got on it it was done by a company called Limart, and they basically create these covers that go on the front of the leg. You can pretty much get any design you want. So I've got the poppies and both the UK flag and the Scotland flag, my cat badge, and a soldier kneeling. Just something I threw together myself. I basically contacted the guys and said, right, this is roughly what I want. Can you do that, but only better? And they did. Yeah, it was amazing. I was just like, oh, I've had so many people like ask me about it, and I'm like, yeah, it draws attention.
Because it's one of those things. You obviously, like, people get tattoos that like meaningful. Well, people get tattoos that aren't meaningful and are a bit weird, but then they get meaningful tattoos as well. Not that there's anything wrong with that, by the way. But then, like, so that's like that's a thing to say. It's like a celebration of it, isn't it? I suppose of like, actually, I've gone through all of this. This is the thing. So it's just like getting a tattoo, I suppose, except it doesn't hurt.
Yeah,
that bit doesn't. The bit before did, obviously, but that bit,
yeah,
it hurt the bank balance. But yeah, no, it was just I want so many different designs, but there's just no way I can afford them all, But it's fantastic. Like I say, it gives you that little bit of self-confidence rather than just having the mechanical leg people to stare at. And people, children in particular, are fascinated by it. They're just. I keep telling kids that I keep saying, shh, don't give it away. I'm Iron Man,
I was just thinking though, it must take away the stigma of like, because I don't know, like, because people obviously don't look, but it'll be like, oh, has that guy got a follow or whatever? You know what I mean? They'd be like, wow, look at that.
Yeah, it's very much a wow, that's amazing, rather than oh, look at that. It changes people's perspective, and it just makes them just a bit more maybe polite about how they stare.
No, it's interesting, isn't it? Because even the way you said it, it kind of draws attention to it. You know what I mean? Rather than, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's actually being proud and it's being confident, and it consciously and purposefully draws attention to the leg. Rather than trying to hide it or trying to, it's like it's like a statement of of being proud. And I love the fact that I didn't realize, I thought it was the actual leg, but the fact that it's sort of like a cover so that you could have different covers for different events, it's almost like, accessorizing almost, you know what I mean? For whatever's, whatever you're doing.
Different ones I want, I want like a Metallica one, and just, but I ain't got the bank balance to have all the different ones I want.
I'll tell you what, it is very distinctive, because I seem to remember on the Sunday when we were clearing up, I found your leg. I didn't know you had a wheelchair. I thought you just wore the leg, right? I didn't know you had a wheelchair as well. So I was like, oh, Max left his leg. I thought you'd gone. And I was like, I mean, how would you forget your leg, for fuck's sake? You know what I mean? But I was like, oh, no, he's there. And they were like, no, man, it's all right. He's over there. Because like I went outside, I couldn't see you. And there was just this leg lying in the middle of the floor.
But do you know what? I sometimes do it when I'm in the gym. I just take my leg off and just leave it somewhere. It's just people just, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then I've just got to ask, mate, how did you get involved with Pit Viper? We had the glasses on at the start, and I first saw them at I think it was a couple of years ago at the World's Strongest Man. All the guys wearing them, and I was like, God, these glasses are really cool, because they're really like big retro
as well,
garish kind of 80s looking sunglasses. Yeah.
I got involved in them. I basically contacted them and said, look, this is who I am. This is what I've achieved. Would you be interested in sponsoring? And they're like, right, send us some videos And so I had done an interview with ITV, so I sent them that, and just Pit Viper being Pit Viper, the response was hell yeah. You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, absolutely, I love this. So yeah, it's fantastic because they are so supportive of disabled strongman. They're getting on board with it. They see what the worth with disabled strongman. They see it as not an investment, but to just support us. You know, it's really good. They're kindly going to. Well, they have been sending me some glasses and stuff. And as a sponsored athlete, I get a lot of glasses from them. So I said to them, look, I want to donate some of these glasses to prizes for disabled strongman, and they were like, yeah, this is amazing. Share the love, you know. It's like the logo says, Pit Viper gives a fuck.
Yeah.
And they really do. They really do. So yeah. I've been really lucky with my sponsors. You know, Tough Wraps have probably been one of my biggest supporters early on. They supply me with all the kit I need and then some. You know, there's never an issue. I phone them up and say, right, I'm doing this. Can I get some kit? And they go, right, what do you want? Here, have that. There you go. And it's just fantastic to have that kind of support, because disabled strongman at the moment, we're still quite an unknown quantity, really. And to start getting brands like these involved really, really stands out. We had True Cryo guys at Arnold's, and they came along and they supported the guys. They treated all the athletes on site with the cryotherapy, and just keep me in the game with stuff like that. You know, the cryotherapy is fantastic. I use different sort of recovery processes. I use the hemp help before and after a session at the gym. If I get any issues along the way, shoulder, I'm currently getting treatment on my shoulder from True Cryo. I've been lucky again. The guys sponsor me, and again they came on board with us with disabled strongman when a lot of companies were turning their back on us. And you know, it's nice to have that support as the sport evolves and is growing.
No, that's fantastic. No, that's really great. I mean, Mac, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, and I'm so glad we managed to get this lined up. And it's I mean, it's great, isn't it, Pete? Just spending like an hour just having a chat. You know, it's brilliant. Yeah,
I love it. I've talked about that book, man. Honestly, just have random chats with people. I absolutely love it. But it's like you're saying about like these, like your sponsors. You know, they're kind of people who are being genuine. They're not in business to. I mean, they're in business to make money. Everyone's in business to make money, right? Because otherwise, what's the point? But they're not in business to make as much and maximize it, sort of thing. They're in business to just get into the right places and do the right things and do good in the world. And I think that is amazing. Like that's become my philosophy on life. Like, I mean, not to say I didn't want good in the world, you know, but thinking about making money for myself. But if you can do it in a way that helps loads of people and stuff like that as well, it's just brilliant.
Oh, so, it's brilliant. Like I say, the companies, they come on board because, you know, others won't, or they don't want to, for whatever reason. You know, everyone has their own reasons, but these companies come involved. And let's say they got involved with disabled, they got involved with myself, and they offer that support, not just through the kit that they supply. You know, for some of the comps, they supply like prizes and stuff, and it makes the difference to the athlete, because the one thing that is very different from disabled strongman to the other strongman is that every single athlete is self-funded. So flights, hotels, equipment, we all have to pay that out of our own pockets. You know, we don't have prize money available to help pay for things. So to have that support from these companies is just priceless, man.
No, that's brilliant. Mac, what's the best way for people to kind of, like I say, I love watching your training and just seeing what you're doing when you're posting all your training. So you're only in Kent then, are you? Did you say?
Yeah.
You're only around the corner from me. I'm in Essex, so I didn't.
Oh, well, I
didn't
won't
realise
hold that against you.
I didn't realise you were that close. Yeah. So what's the best way for people to kind of follow you? Is it Instagram? Is that where you do most of your stuff? Yeah.
Most of my stuff, pretty much all of it, it goes on Tartan Warrior WSDM on Instagram. And obviously, if there's people out there watching this that might think that disabled strongman is for them, then please get in touch, either myself and I'll point you in the direction, or contacting GB Disabled Strongman directly. They've got a website and they've got a contact page on there. So it's just take that leap of faith and get involved, because the more disabled people that we can get involved with Disabled Strongman, the bigger our sport will become.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And I've just actually thought, now that I know how close you are, we've got it's not been put out publicly really yet, but we've got Magnuson coming down to my gym in Essex in July, the day after the Strongman Classic at the Royal Albert Hall, which is Sunday I want to say 14th of July. I might be wrong. It's not out there yet. But I was going to say, if you're only around, you're probably about an hour away from us. You'd have to come. I'd love for you to come down and spend the afternoon with us at the gym and spend the afternoon with Magnus and stuff. It'd be brilliant. Yeah,
absolutely
brilliant. Yeah, I'll be in touch about that. No, I just thought that'd be great. Yeah. And then people can come and meet you as well, which would be incredible.
Yeah, Magnus will be there. They'll be like, step aside, so the Tartan Warriors.
No, that's brilliant. No, thank you so much, Mac. That's absolutely great. And like I say, yeah, we'll definitely see you again. And yeah, if I can set that up so we can maybe catch up in person in July, that would be amazing. And I mean,
definitely. Let's do that, man.
Yeah, and I think Pete and I will probably be involved again this year. This would be Strongest Disabled and stuff again, which would be great. You
should get in touch with Ty and Bex at GB as well. They're always looking for volunteers to help out with loading crew in particular, for some of the big expos coming up.
Brilliant. Okay, no, we will do. Yeah, because I think Martin Ty is your coach as well, is he?
He is.
Yeah. How's that?
I love him, but I hate him.
I was going to say, let's not ask about. We'll ask about that when we stop recording, and then you can.
Today was shoulders, and I'm feeling it. but it's working.
But it's working. Brilliant. Okay, thank you so much, Mac. So thanks to all of you as well for listening and for watching. Really, we really appreciate all of you, and we are picking up new listeners, new viewers every week. And we love hearing about you guys and what you're kind of getting from the podcast and the kind of guests that you'd like us to have on in future. And we're going to keep doing this because we absolutely love it. And it's I know both Pete and myself it's one of the highlights of our weeks doing these podcasts every week and meeting fantastic people like Max. So we will be back next week. He's putting his Pit Vipers on. I'll put mine on as well.
I hope I didn't overshadow you both, because I wore this all the way through. By the way, I know it's intimidating about how cool it looks, but
we will be back next week. I'm not sure yet. I know we're going to have Mark and Gareth from Base Gym. We've got Paul McElroy back on. We're going to have lots of other guests lined up, but we'll be back next week with somebody as a guest, or else it may just be me and Pete having a chat again. But we'll be back for episode 182. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Thank you one more time, Mac. It's been an absolute honor having you on. He's giving us the metal sign. Right. We'll see you guys next week. See you later. Bye-bye.